I'd like to call this April 28th, 2022 Certificate of Appropriateness meeting to order. It is 5:03 p.m. for the start. We're going to begin with a roll call. Ian Dunn.
Here.
Wes Tripp.
Here.
Curtis Casefang.
Here.
Sandy Feaster.
Here.
And do I roll call you? Okay. All right. All right. And then, of course, we have Colette Canane and Aaron. Remind me your last name. I'm sorry. Aaron Morton, present.
I am here.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. And so I believe with all of the committee that we have up front, we do have a quorum. Okay. I want to take a moment to welcome you all to this month's COA committee meeting. Thank you all for attending with us today. Please note, if you haven't already, please sign in. I believe it's up front where the hand sanitizer and masks are. Make sure you sign in to note your attendance. And at this time, I think we'll go around and introduce the members of our committee and the staff. We'll start with Ian.
Ian Dunn. I'm a Raleigh historian, and I work at the State Archives of North Carolina.
Good afternoon, everyone. Wes Tripp. I'm an attorney here in Raleigh with a local law firm.
And hi, everyone. My name is Rhdc. I'm a licensed architect here in North Carolina, practicing in Raleigh, and I am the chairwoman for the COA.
Yes, and I'm Francis Raspberry. I'm also an attorney in Raleigh, and I'm legal counsel to the committee. I'm not a member of the committee.
Curtis Casefang. I live in Oakwood, and in my other life, I am a theater consultant.
Hi, Sandy Feaster. This is my first year on the commission. I have a master's in historic preservation.
Erin and Colette.
I am Colette Canane. I'm staff for the commission. I have a master's degree in historic preservation and have been working with the commission for about 4 years.
And I'm Erin Morton. I'm also staff to the commission. I'm going to be moving soon, so I don't have to reach so far here. But I have a master's in historic preservation as well, and have served the commission for 2 years now.
Thank you all so much. Okay, with that, we'll jump right in. First, I'll ask for a motion to waive the reading of the minutes from last month's meeting.
So moved.
Okay. I'll take this moment to ask for any corrections or additions to the minutes. Anyone? No? Okay. With that, can I have a motion to adopt last month's meeting minutes?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, that's seconded. Oh, do I need to say everyone's name now too, since we're virtual, or you can see everybody? Do you know what I mean?
That's a question for Raz. I think since we're in person, it's...
Since we're in person, the requirements for roll call votes don't apply.
Okay.
So it's all right for you to just announce the ruling on the motion that's
Okay.
been voted on, unless there's a challenge to that.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. So with that said, we have a motion and then a second. So all in favor of adopting the meeting minutes from our May session, or sorry, March session. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, and that is unanimous. Thank you. Okay. So as far as minor work applications go, Erin or Colette, could you let us know how many minor work applications were processed last month?
Yes, we had 9 minor work approvals last month.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. And we appreciate the work that you all do in between these meetings to get those done. All right.
It's not legally required to just say what a quasi-judicial hearing is all about.
Could you, because
Sure.
I usually have a paragraph on it that I don't have now.
Thank you, Rhdc. I'll just offer a very brief stage-setting introductory statement. This is a quasi-judicial proceeding, which means that it is court-like By statute, they're referred to as evidentiary hearings. The proceeding is required to satisfy all of the statutory as well as case law requirements for due process, which includes the right to cross-examine witnesses, right to be represented by counsel, the right to introduce evidence, right of appeal, record is to be maintained, minutes are to be kept, and there are other rules and requirements. But there's a level of formality for this type of proceeding that's not typical for what many of us think of as the standard public hearing at City Hall. This is quasi-judicial, that is court-like, so it will be apparent immediately as the hearing commences and proceeds. But that is the nature of the process, and the chair will give guidelines on the steps to be taken, who begins, and so on and so forth. But that's the introductory legal part of this proceeding, if you will. Thank you.
Thank you, Raz. Let's see. Okay. At this point, I believe you all should have received information about the cases that are being reviewed in today's hearing. In addition to that, I guess information and agenda has been available or is available if you need that as well. So there is no time limit to this meeting or to this hearing, but we would just ask that we keep from being redundant and kind of be respectful of time as we have a number of cases to see tonight. That said, I think we're ready to call cases, yes? Okay. So with that, I will open up the evidentiary hearing and we will hear our first case. COA-005-2022, 112 South Salisbury Street. Is there anyone here representing that case? Would you please come forward? All right, and before we get into the staff presentation, could you state your name and your address for the record, please?
My name is Isabel Maddox. I'm an attorney representing First Presbyterian Church, and here with me today is Daniel Watley, landscape architect from Withers and Ravenel. My address is P.O. Box 946, Raleigh 27602.
137 South Wilmington Street, Raleigh.
Great, thank you. All right, and do each of you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you are about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Yes. Okay. All right, great. With that, oh, and also Colette and Aaron, let me go ahead and swear both of you all in for the evening. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you are about to give in this matter and all of the matters this evening is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Great, thank you. All right, with that, we'll have a staff presentation summarizing the key issues.
Sure. So as you mentioned, this is case 0005-2022 for 112 South Salisbury Street. It is in the Capitol Square Historic District. I will note that part of this parcel also includes the First Presbyterian Raleigh Historic Landmark. However, the portion of the property for this case is not included in that landmark boundary. The nature of the request for this application is to construct a fence and gates, alter landscaping, and alter patio surface. And this is a view of 112 South Salisbury. This is the Raleigh Historic Landmark. And the area of the project is located behind that building. This is the view of the parking lot from West Morgan. And moving closer to the project area here, this is the site impacted by the proposal. And we'll just walk you through these views. Too fast there. Staff's concerns regarding the application were that the specifications and details for the rubber surface that was mentioned were not provided and that a planting plan was not provided. And I believe that the applicants do have new information to share as part of their presentation.
Okay. You're welcome to speak at this time.
Good afternoon. Again, my name is Isabel Maddox, representing First Presbyterian Church today. In addition to Mr. Watley, Jerry Rogers, the treasurer and longstanding member of the church, is here with us today. And I'd like to first submit that the application material, staff report, and exhibits to be presented be admitted into evidence.
Unless there's objection, they will be admitted. Is there any objection? Okay. The evidence will be admitted.
Thank you. First Pres is a longtime occupant of downtown Raleigh Historic District and a great steward of his historic building and the rest of its campus. As Colette mentioned, the subject of today's hearing is not the historic landmark, which is the main church sanctuary, but a piece of their campus adjacent to that. Like most historic churches, the church must work really hard to balance its history with its need to serve its church members, young and old, and its many missions. It wants to keep its facilities safe, to provide accessible campus for both young children in daycare, the grieving, the hungry, and all other manners of church outreach. We seek a COA to update an area on the church grounds to make it more aesthetically appealing and safer to serve the church's members and its many missions. This area primarily includes a columbarium, and then there's a portion of the children's daycare center on the property that we're also addressing here today. Currently, the columbarium is not particularly well identified from Morgan Street, which is where the entrance is. And then once visitors are inside that area, it's a fairly narrow rectangular area, there's some safety issues that negatively impact its use. And as you might imagine, many visitors are older and some have mobility issues. The child care play area abuts the columbarium area, and there's a need to extend the existing play surface by about 10 linear feet, or about 250 square feet total, to accommodate the youngest children, many of whom are also mobility challenged, although for them, not for long. With this project, the church hopes to remedy these issues. And I want to call on landscape architect Daniel Watley, whom I want to tender as an expert in site design and landscape architecture, to describe the proposed site plan and design and how that plan meets the Development Commission's guidelines and City of Raleigh requirements, particularly including the congruity and other standards that are relevant here. Mr. Watley?
Okay, sorry, before you speak, without objection, we'll accept this witness as an expert in landscape architecture. Are any objections? Okay. Please proceed.
Thank you. And Colette, am I driving this or? Okay. There we go. Thank you. So I was going to go back to this picture, a couple of these first. I just want to give a little bit of history on how this project came about originally. And so this picture sums up a good amount. The green canopy you see in the background is the existing playground on the preschool that is a service the church provides. And that black fence you see in front of that green canopy is the existing playground fence, just to give a sense of where we are. One of the issues that the church has with the columbarium today is that nobody knows it's there. So there's a brick wall, a parking lot, and people don't realize that there's an entire beautiful garden behind that wall with a columbarium in it. And so the design of the brick piers and archway are primarily to create a gateway, an ornamental architectural entrance that will draw people's eye to that part of the parking lot and realize that, oh, this is the entrance into a special space. And so that's the purpose for the archway and many of these improvements that originally came about. As we began studying the project, we then identified ADA accessibility issues, buckled pavers from overgrown tree roots, heaving pavers up. You know, this picture right here is a good example of how there's actually not any ADA access into the space at all, because there's a wheel stop on that parking space right there where the flush curb exists, and so there's no way to even get a wheelchair in there right now. This route also serves as one of the egress routes for the daycare, and so again, that's supposed to be ADA. I think the landscape plan that I provided today is a great view of the overall design, actually, because it has the plants shown too. And so what you'll see on the left is the addition of the rubber surfacing, which is an existing material in the playground today. So we would match that same material. And that's also to serve as the egress route, as well as a place for the infants to have outdoor space separate from the 3-year-olds who might trample them. So it's a safe space for the infants, but it also doubles as the egress route. And so that's what the rubber surfacing that was mentioned, that's where it's going. And so that is an existing material on site. We would match it. It would obviously look newer at first, but ultimately have that same grayish tan coloration to it. And so the existing pavers are also shown in this image. As you go into the walled garden, you'll see instances of them being heaved by tree roots. And so the goal is to lift those, regrade the subbase, and also add some additional square footage to create some more seating opportunities, as well as accessibility to the columbarium wall itself. Today there's a 3-foot wide plant bed in front of the wall, and so people who want to come see a loved one have to stand 3 or 4 feet away, and sometimes can't even see the text on the plaques. And so we're proposing that pavers be installed all the way up to the base of the wall there, which you can see in the middle of the landscape plan on the south wall. In addition, the landscape is simply being refurbished. It's a 20-year-old landscape we're looking at here. We're keeping the large trees like the crepe myrtle at the end and the tea olives, and we're just refreshing the ground plane, adding ground cover, replacing dead shrubs with new ones, same plant material in general. The plant list is trying to match the original design from about 20 years ago. Existing lighting will stay the same, so the space is adequately lit at night, and the fencing will match existing fencing on site as well. One of the pages I provided just now also just shows existing archways on the site, and that's where the design is coming from. We're just mimicking existing architectural detailing on the site. And those are a few arches. There's actually tons of arches all over the place, including inside the building, some pretty impressive ones that you guys should all check out sometime. And so that's a summary of the project. You know, we're trying to create a gateway into the columbarium, and also at the same time create some more space for the daycare. And as you can see in the image, the space today is disjointed, not highly functional, kind of just a dead space with no thought behind it. So thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. And just want to ask a couple questions. Can you confirm that the site as proposed meets the Rhdc guidelines, including those on congruity, particularly with regard to new materials that are introduced?
Yes, that's correct. There's no new foreign materials being introduced. All existing materials will be matched as closely as possible, given the 20-year or more difference in when they were installed.
And then on the landscaping plan, you have submitted today a landscaping and planting plan. Can you confirm that the landscaping plan contemplates the removal of mostly unhealthy or overgrown vegetation?
That's correct, and just filling in where there's currently no vegetation because something may have died years ago.
And further, to the extent possible, those plantings will be replaced by the same or similar plant materials?
That is correct. Very traditional plant material, and one of the pages I provided is an example image of each plant being proposed.
As to the play area surface, Can you, you slightly described it, can you describe again the proposed surface to be added in the approximately 250 square foot area adjacent to the current child care play area?
Sure. So this is what's known as poured in place rubber. It's pretty common now in newer playgrounds. You'll see it. City of Raleigh uses it everywhere in their parks, and it's a fall protection surface. So it's meant for playground settings in case a child were to fall off a piece of play equipment. It helps in the infant center as well, because if an infant is sitting up and falls backwards, their head will hit a soft rubber surface. However, it's also firm enough that it meets ADA requirements, and so it's a very functional, flexible surface. But the main purpose it's in this space is for fall protection and safety.
And can you confirm that this is essentially the same as the material that's there now?
That's correct. It would be the same material that's installed at the same colors to match.
Okay. And would you consider the landscape plan and the addition to the play area to be congruous with the current church campus?
Yes, it is a highly used area.
So to recap, we've heard from an expert witness that the proposed improvements meet the Rhdc guidelines and the City of Raleigh standards. We believe we've addressed adequately the two outstanding issues raised in the staff report about the landscaping and planting plan and the materials to be used in the play area extension. Therefore, we believe we've satisfied the requirements for a certificate of appropriateness, and we request your support for this certificate, and are certainly available for questions.
Great, thank you so much.
Okay.
With that, now we'll open it up to questions from the commission for the applicant. Ian?
Staff, do you know if the current rubber surface dates to that 2000 COA?
I would imagine yes. That COA did include the playground area.
Mm-hmm. And that's not, you're not proposing to expand it at all, it's just a replacement of what's there?
This is an expansion. So in the image, the wall, the building face to the left, it would be an expansion in that area.
It goes back an additional 10 feet.
Okay.
And looking at the drawing two that you provided today, I believe that rubber surface is next to the stock building between the two gates. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And the purpose of the two gates is to separate the different aged children, but they would both be panic bar egress gates so that you could just push them open from the exiting direction.
Any additional questions from the commission? No? Okay. All right, at this time, we'll close the public hearing and turn to internal discussion. I'm sorry. All right, before I do that, is there anybody else present that would like to speak on this matter? Okay. With that, I will close the public hearing and turn to internal discussion with the commission. All right. Comments?
To me, it's a no-brainer. We're good to go.
Okay. All right. Agreed. Okay. All right. Let's have a motion. Curtis?
I move that based on the application and the evidence presented during the hearing and staff comments, that we approve this application.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. I believe that is unanimous. And are there any conditions that you'd like to propose?
I think they've satisfied the conditions from what I can see.
Okay. Agree with that? All right. So this is a mess. Okay. All right. So with that, the motion for approval carries, and a certificate of appropriateness is to be granted for this application. Thank you all for your time and for the additional information. We wish you the best of luck with your project. Okay. Okay, and with that, we will move on to case COA-0021-2022, 1105 West Lenore Street.
So this case will be automatically withdrawn.
Okay.
We'd like to note that the application was submitted under a current property owner but has since changed hands prior to approval of the COA. And on guidance from the city attorney's office, we've asked that the new property owners to submit a new application. So this case is withdrawn and won't be heard tonight.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So with that, we will move on to the next case on the agenda, COA-0036, 2022, 402 Kinsey Street. Okay. Is there anyone here representing that application? Okay. All right. Okay. And if you could state your name and address for the record.
My name is Melissa Todd. Address is 1028 West South Street.
Okay. All right. And do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Great. All right. With that, we will turn to the staff presentation.
I believe you should also ask the property owners to come up as well.
Oh, okay. Hi. All right. Could you each state your name and your address, please, for the record?
I'm Carla Oakley, and my address is 402 Kinsey, 27603.
And I'm Nancy Petty, and my address is 402 Kinsey Street, Raleigh, 27603.
Okay, great. And then do you all solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Great. Thank you.
All right, so this case is COA 36, 2022 for 402 Kinsey Street in the Boylan Heights Historic District. The request is to construct a rear accessory structure. And this is a photo of the front of the house as it currently exists along Kinsey Street. You can see it's elevated slightly off of the street. And then we're just going to walk around the side of the house, looking toward the rear yard on the, I guess, maybe the west side, and then here's the driveway side. So this is the side of the rear lot where the accessory structure is proposed. And this is a shot from the street looking straight back to where the proposed structure will sit. And the rear corner, closer look. And the rest of the rear yard, you can see a large willow oak tree in the opposite corner of the rear yard. And this is a view from the existing alleyway behind the house looking back toward the street. And a view down the alleyway itself, the property is located to the right in this image. So staff concerns, this is paraphrased, are referenced in the staff report, but the historic or COA approval status for nearby accessory structures provided as evidence were not noted. No visual fencing locations were provided on the tree protection plan, nor a note from a certified arborist that that large willow oak will be protected. The continuous footing foundation is proposed within the critical root zone of the willow oak. There was evidence provided to support roof shed dormers and unpainted wood shingle siding from principal structures, but not from comparable accessory structures in the district. No evidence was provided to support the installation of 3 exterior doors on the accessory structure of this scale, or for the variation of door designs. No evidence to support a natural finish of porch elements, and noting some general manufacturer specifications as well. We can scroll through pictures for you if you'd like.
I just want to start with the staff concern about the Arborist report. The last sheet in our submittal is the certified Arborist report that does note fencing. There's already a privacy fence around the entire property line, so it just notes at each property line to provide tree protection fencing.
Yeah, I missed that, so thank you for pointing that out.
For the next staff concern, the accessory structure is proposed to have a continuous footing. We will be modifying that to not have a continuous footing and just use a pier foundation system. Regarding the variation in door design, there's a note on here about solid single door and double doors with no glazing, and then there was another comment about double doors with glazing, but I just wanted to clarify that the entry door has glazing on the front, and then there's also a rear door that has glazing, but the double doors are intended to be a storage access, and those do not propose glazing, but they do propose a panel to be in the same language as the other two doors. They just will be solid and not have a glazing panel. The next item, this is under suggested conditions, that the door facing the alleyway be removed from the design. And this is, I think, the only condition that we wanted to sort of discuss a little bit more. And I'd like to read an excerpt from the Rhdc guidelines on the special character of the Boylan Heights Historic District. And it says, the blocks are bisected by service alleys. The curving streets create a psychologically slowed pace and therefore a pedestrian predominance that is enhanced by the density of scale and changes in elevation and appearance. The service alleys encourage a sense of community by offering opportunities for backdoor contact while at the same time maintaining individual privacy. The alleys are also lined with numerous accessory buildings which lend a rhythm of mass and space to the rear yard area of houses. Recent years have seen the construction of increasing numbers of rear yard wooden privacy fences, segmenting lots and reducing the flow of space behind houses. This alley in particular is actually not a vehicle alley. It's special in Boylan Heights in that way. It's just pedestrian access. And actually on the north side, it's been not used so much that it's really overgrown and you can't even get through the alleyway anymore. So one of the intentions of putting a door on this side of the structure is to help activate this alley space and make sure it doesn't fall into just not being used anymore by anyone. And also, I understand you don't really talk about the use of these buildings, but this building is intended to be an accessory dwelling unit, and so it provides just a more private entrance for the user of this dwelling unit. And then lastly, regarding specifications, that's something that we can provide. We wanted to come to the hearing and just see how far in the process, and hopefully just have a list of conditions that we can satisfy for our COA placard.
Thank you for that. At this time, I'll ask if there are questions from the commission. Ian?
Do you know at this point what you plan to put in between the brick foundation piers? Is it just open or?
No, it will be a brick foundation, and the brick will be same to match the existing main house. And looking at the existing brick, we think it's a Jamestown brick that will be used and painted to match.
You're just not digging down?
Pardon?
You're just not digging down?
Correct.
Okay.
So if I understand you correctly, with the suggested conditions that were presented in the staff report, you seem to be in agreement with all of them except for the 5 about that alleyway door?
That's correct.
Okay.
The tree protection plan seems to suggest protection fencing on the neighbor's lot. Is that intended to be executed? Usually we don't see that where the tree doesn't have a critical root zone in the lot in question.
That was to satisfy a requirement. We did not originally have fencing there, but it was a comment that we received to add fencing in that location. So that's why that note was added.
Gotcha.
Any further questions for the applicant? Sandy, do you have any questions for the applicant?
No, Madam Chair, they've been answered.
All right. Is there anyone else here from the public that would like to make a comment on this case? Okay. All right. Thank you. And with that, we will close the public hearing and turn to internal discussion. All right. Comments from the commission?
I guess just looking at the application, my biggest concern is that if one were to implement the tree protection plan as it's drawn in fencing, you would be excluding the work zone with the tree protection fencing. So I suspect the plan needs to get revised just as a condition to make it something executable functionally. Beyond that, I appreciate the staff's comments, and I actually think the thought about maintaining that door facing the alleyway is a good one. I don't see anything really driving us to remove that door necessarily, so my inclination would be to strike that suggested condition, but I'd love to hear others' thoughts.
Actually, I can reopen the public hearing if staff would like to comment or follow up on that suggestion.
Only if you all have questions for us.
You want to hear from staff on that at all, or?
Not necessarily.
Okay. Okay. Any additional comments or feedback? Thoughts on the door on the alley?
No, I think that based on what the applicant said, and then you could see in the picture that it's not really a street alleyway, but more of I guess grass alleyway that's not really used for vehicles. I do think having a door there would promote accessibility, so I'm fine with keeping it.
Okay. All right. Assuming that that is the only sort of outstanding topic of discussion on this matter, and hearing that from most of the commission so far that can be potentially stricken as a condition. Sandy or Ian, do you all have any follow-up comment on that or anything else? Okay, so it sounds like we're ready to make a motion.
Curtis, it sounded like you had some language about that tree plan.
Yeah, happy to do it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I move based upon the application evidence presented during the hearing, that the application be approved with the following conditions. One, that the visual tree protection plan be revised to show the diameter of the protection fencing and indicate how construction will occur while the protection is in place, and that this be approved by staff prior to construction. that the tree protection plan be implemented and remain in place for the duration of the construction, that any new post holes dug be manually dug, and tree roots larger than 1 inch caliber that are encountered while digging shall receive clean final cut using tools designed for the purpose, such as loppers. 4, that the foundation system not use continuous footings. 5, that the south side double doors be solid slabs with no glazing. 6, that the porch ceiling material be wood and that all the wooden porch details have a painted finish. 7, that the following materials and specifications be submitted to and approved by staff prior to issuance of the blue placard. A, revised plans and elevation drawings to reflect conditions 4 and 5. B, scaled eave section details. C, manufacturer's window specifications including material, finish sections, and trim details. And then 9, the following material and specifications be submitted to and approved by staff prior to installation or construction. A, manufacturer's door specifications including material, finish, section, and trim details. B, skylight specifications including material, finish, and section detail. C, standing seam metal roof specifications in color, if not matching the house. D, physical paint samples if not matching the historic house. C, exterior lighting specifications if any. And F, gutter / downspout locations and specifications if any.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Okay. Are there any conditions? You stated all the
All of
conditions.
them.
Did you state the modification as well? I'm
Yes.
sorry. Okay. I just wanted to
Incorporated
make
them
sure.
in the conditions.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
You make things so much easier. All right. So with that, we will have a vote from the committee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So that decision is unanimous. So thank you all very much for attending. Thank you for attending. Just to confirm, the COA application that was just presented has been approved. You are invited to stay, but we will be giving you a formal notification sent to you within approximately 10 working days.
And actually, a correction to that, since those are old.
Or not.
We'll notify you after they're approved and adopted by the committee at their next meeting, next month.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Good luck with your project. All right. With that, we will move to the next application, COA-0037, 2022, 508 Tilden Street. Hi. Could you each state your name and address for the record, please?
Adele Sweetwood, 2600 Glenwood Avenue, 27608.
Chris Sweetwood, 2600 Glenwood Avenue, Raleigh, 27608.
Jamie Dawson, 4616 Yanks Mill Pond Road, Raleigh, 27606.
Adam Hancock, 6800 Holly Springs Road, Raleigh, 27606.
Thank you so much. And do each of you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Do I need them individual yeses? That's fine. Okay. All right. With that, we'll turn to the staff presentation.
All right, as you mentioned, this is case COA 0037, 2022 for 508 Tilden Street. That is in the Glenwood, Brooklyn Historic District, which is a street side HOD. The nature of the project request is to construct a 2-story rear addition with a rear deck, alter the front facade, alter the front porch, and the front porch foundation, alter the dormer, alter window openings, alter door openings, install exterior lighting, alter landscaping, and construct patio. This is a view of the house from Tilden Street, and we'll take a walk around. This is a closer view. The west facade, the rear. And this is a partial view of the rear and the east facade, and then back around to the front to see the rest of the east facade. And this is a context view showing you the two properties on either side. So this is a very abbreviated version of staff concerns, but they sum up to largely drawing discrepancies, height, and material compatibility. I will say that I had a conversation with the applicants last week, and they are aware of the concerns and did not have time to prepare new drawings that reflect the discrepancies, but would still like to have a conversation about height and material compatibility. And I believe they also have a document of new information as well.
I'm Adele Sweetwood. That's Chris. We're the homeowners. And yeah, we took the full staff concerns and listed an answer basically to all of them. Several were just mistakes in drawings. Other areas, we really just want to show our flexibility here. We've been through working with the great Aaron and Colette. They've been awesome, and their guidance and support's been awesome. And we've also met with DRAC committee members. We've gotten a lot of feedback, and quite honestly, sometimes it's like, well, go this way, no, go that way. And we're trying to find the balance that meets our needs as homeowners and what we want to build, as well as meeting the guidelines, obviously, and protecting the historic elements of the neighborhood and the home. So we definitely want to know, you guys to know that we're very flexible. So that was the purpose of that document. If you'd like to take a minute, or I can walk you through it, whatever is best. And part of that is also reading through the conditions. We are fine with all conditions that were set out.
Aaron, can you go back to kind of showing the summary list of concerns that the staff had for this report? Or Colette? Okay. All right.
And that is abbreviated from the list.
Yeah, sure. I'm just trying to think of a couple of things maybe you all could, since this is our first time seeing it, we can read through it. But maybe we could talk about the height more specifically as a start, and then kind of go from there.
Sure. So in terms of the height, one thing we certainly did, the house, the first floor is a 10-foot ceiling in the existing structure, so we're leaving that. But in the second floor, we attempted to do an 8-foot ceiling. One idea in terms of its reduction of the appearance of the height as much as anything else is to just do the expansion component on the first floor. So then when, you only see then when you're facing the house, you wouldn't see really the extension at all unless you went to the side of the house, because the upstairs part would be the same width as the downstairs part, which is more about width than height, I understand. But it's visually less visible, I guess, from the street, which is, I know, one of the concerns. The reason for us wanting to do that expansion on the first floor is you're adding a stairwell, which is pretty significant, and it's only about a 28 to 30 foot house. It's not very wide. So when you get towards the back of the house, which is the main living space, and you put a stairwell there, that's really where we need the space. We also are more than willing to reduce the overall square footage. In fact, we'd probably prefer to of the second floor and kind of shorten it to versus it being completely over the first floor. Again, I don't know how much of that addresses height from the line of sight drawings and from the street. It's not that much higher. It's about 5 feet difference. And on our left, our neighbors are a 2-story, and so they're higher than that. And on our right, our neighbors got a pretty high first, 1-story. So it's not like the second story is overpowering the neighbors in any way. And then, of course, if you have thoughts and ideas on different types of roof lines or materials or anything that we could do differently, we're open to that. There's a lot of different ways you can go. It's just finding the right one.
I appreciate your explanation of that.
Okay, sure. The drawing discrepancies were literally just that. They're incorrect as drawn in terms of things like window sizes and some of the dormer changes.
And you all have not submitted corrected drawings at all, or you haven't?
We haven't since the staff report know. We can submit a set before your next meeting.
Okay.
And, you know, but we couldn't do it in this turnaround.
Sure, understandable. Okay. Are there any questions from the commission for the applicant?
The material compatibility, again, I'll point to in the guidelines and in conversations, we had guidance that said make the addition look similar to the original structure, and we had guidance that said make the addition look different from the original structure. So there were some suggestions about using different materials. Quite honestly, we could go with vertical board and batten, we could go with horizontal siding. We don't have a strong preference in that direction. We were just trying to, again, pick which one might work. And that's really, I don't know if that's what you meant, Colette, by material compatibility, but that was one of the other components. And obviously we could agree to all materials being reviewed by staff prior to installation.
Of course. Walking around the house, I noted that 2 windows were true divided light windows and appeared that they could be from the original time frame of the house, and the balance were more modern replacement windows with internal dividers. Do we know that those 4 were actually the original to the house, or do we have any sense one way or another?
I mean, I'm not in any way a historical expert. They certainly could have been there.
I'm guessing they were just looking at other structures on the street that are of a similar time frame.
They are not in great shape, I can tell you that. So I don't know that they can be saved. There's another 2 on the back that are kind of similar. So I agree, there is certainly an option that they could be original.
At least 3 of them looked good enough to repair, in my opinion.
I'm sorry, sir. What did you say? I'm sorry.
I said at least 3 of the windows look good enough to repair, in my opinion.
Yep.
So I submitted some additional photos of the windows, the wood windows in particular, where the rod is. They've all got these air conditioning units, and they've put a lot of adhesive to try to keep them in, and they've cut into it. I mean, we could certainly attempt it. I just don't know how that works with these conditions. If we can't do it, then what? And I would assume we'd want all the windows to be consistent.
Yeah. We have seen similar windows in similar condition repaired using wood consolidant and filler. It's people have repaired enormous columns that way too. And the net result is the material is actually stronger than the original material was. So that might be worth pursuing as you're looking into what to do.
Right.
I have a question for Raz. My understanding is that in a street side HOD, looking at the statute, 50% of the original structure is reviewed. But then if you have any kind of change that extends beyond that original structure, that entire change is reviewable. And I'm getting this from, I just want to make sure we're doing this right. From Article 5.4 of the I don't know what it is, the UDO, specifically 515 diagram where it's showing that the extension, anything that's sticking out, is subject to approval. So if anything that's projected back from the front elevation isn't, but anything that extends beyond it is. And it kind of actually says it in the text. And is that correct?
Not to duck the legal aspect of your question, I'm going to defer to staff because the question comes up frequently when you have additions,
right?
Substantial additions in the street side districts, and I know that there's a track record on that, and I'd ask if either Colette or Aaron would sort of educate us on the way that has been interpreted and applied.
Certainly.
In the past.
In Glenwood, Brooklyn, additions that are either taller or wider come under review. So if there was a straight extrusion of the existing house out the back, then that potentially would not require a COA application.
Okay.
But if it does either break the roof plane or stick out from either of the, the outermost wall,
Yep.
then it requires an application.
So the sides and the front surface and the
Right, so
top-
once a COA application is required, the addition is reviewed in the round.
Okay, thank you. I'll hop into another question for you guys. I notice, let's see, in plan we have the outset of the addition on the west side of the house. Does that relate to the way the adjacent house steps out, or was that just at the 50% line?
The location of the 50% line is simply the location, that start point. We are open to pushing it further past the second window to address the location of the windows. So we could start it a couple feet further back.
Gotcha.
At that point, you're kind of hitting the point in the house where it already has a little bit of an extension,
Yes.
right? So we chose the left side primarily because we had more setback room on the left side than the right side.
Okay.
But again, if left or right's an issue, we're open to
I hear you.
suggestions.
That was it for my questions.
Any other questions for the applicant from the commission? I know we're still all up here reading and digesting, I think. Is there anyone else present to speak on this case? Are you here to speak? Oh, okay. Yes, please. Okay. All right.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Jeff Hudgens. I live at 506 Tilden, the neighboring residence to this.
Okay. Oh, let me swear you in real
Sure,
quick.
yeah.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. Please proceed.
Great. I just wanted to say, as a resident of the street and a neighbor of the project, I love the support of the committee, the commission, and the Sweetwoods to try and bring the vibrancy back to this street. Tilden is one of the more forgotten streets, if you will, in the zone right now. There are a total of 9 properties that actually have residential addresses on Tilden. Currently, 4 of them are what I would call in the more restored or modern day appropriation of use. This would be the tipping point to get us to the 5 over the 50% mark. And for those of us that are residents of the street, we battle some of the transient issues of the street. We're very close to Glenwood South, and that's quickly encroaching to us. But restoring these homes into a more modern, family-oriented, which means larger sometimes, properties, is seen to us as a good thing, and it solidifies the neighborhood and certainly our street, which is a great street in our looking at it. The Sweetwoods would also, I can attest, would be outstanding guardians and stewards of a project like this, both for the short term and the long term. It's not an inexpensive proposition when you take on properties like this. I think they're very positive, and that they have chosen to be a part of this neighborhood, which is great, because we're seeing a lot of those that are just in it for the short term as they flip a property. This is not that case. So as a resident of the street, I'm just here to say, hope you'll give all support you can to this. And being a neighboring structure to it, I would love to see something better than I look at every day. So, and restoring it to a single family, which was its original intent, would be lovely as well. So thanks to the commission. Thanks.
And thank you so much for sharing those comments. Are there any questions? Do you we take questions from them? Any additional questions from the commission?
I have one.
Yeah, Sandy.
I may be missing it, but can you show me where the geometric style windows are going? Am I missing that?
So in the original photos, or in the photo document I just gave you? So you should have had. No, I know. But you want to see the pictures?
It's not clear on the plans where those windows.
Oh,
would
it's
be.
not clear on the plans. Okay, it's the muntins for all the windows.
All of them.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Okay.
It wasn't a single window, but it was intended to be the proposed muntins top half for all the windows.
Okay.
Sorry.
Just for your own information, I do believe you're right in the fact that it was not originally a duplex, and I have good evidence to suggest that it became a duplex in 1965.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Thank you.
I think based on that, you could also conclude that the porch floor was replaced somewhere in that same time frame.
The front porch floor? Or
Yeah, front porch floor.
Do you think that the back half is also an addition?
I don't know, but the front porch floor.
I think so. Okay. It doesn't look like it from the maps we saw, but
The Sanborn map indicates it's pretty much
it looks like the
original.
same structure, yeah. And interior, though, that's where you start to see a significant problem in the flooring and the slope of the flooring, and you see kind of where they, maybe when they made it a duplex, kind of really separated the spaces. That's why when you first walk into it without a Sanborn map, you think that was an addition.
Yeah,
you know.
Right.
Yeah, and I think if you, when you find a carpenter who you're working with on the replacement, if you have someone who knows older homes, they are going to, the way that porch floor was replaced in the 60s is a design you see that people do a lot, and it's prone to rot because the board ends aren't exposed to dry, and that would not be typical of when this was built. It would
Okay.
have been done like that. But that's me providing evidence that's not necessary here. Can't be considered, yep.
All right. Are there any additional questions for the applicants? Okay. Thank you all so much. At this time, we'll close the public hearing and turn to internal discussion.
I'll kick it off if you want.
Sure. I think we might have a similar thought.
I think it would be helpful to the applicant too if we have a conversation about our thoughts on what's going on here. I mean, for me, I feel the addition's overwhelming the character of the house, and that's sort of the fundamental issue. But even going through staff comments, I think there were some, at least based on the evidence, there were some inaccuracies. Like form and design, it's saying the main roof form of the addition, which is 4 and 12, matches the pitch of the historic roof. If you look at the front of the house, the entire porch structure is being rebuilt, including the pitch of that porch roof is changing, so that it's actually not quite accurate. It matches one of the pitches, but it's not the pitch we're being left with. I believe that porch roof is being resloped from 4 and 12 to 2 and 12 according to the drawings, and I think that's a pretty significant character defining element to the front house elevation. The windows, based on the 6/6.
4/4.
No, 6/6. And looking on the street, I think one could pull evidence from the street for 1/1s or 6/6s, but not the proposed 9/9s.
No.
And not the diamonds.
And if the windows that are in there now are original, that pretty much
it's a no-brainer.
strikes out.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. I don't think in concept it's impossible to do what they're asking to do. I just think there are a lot of design tricks that need to be brought forward to drop down the apparent scale of that addition.
There are precedents in the neighborhood.
There are precedents, yeah, where one plays games with dropping the roof line but putting dormers in and things like that.
I think my main issue is the bump out on the left.
Mm-hmm.
I think that really affects the way that the massing looks from the street. Part of the charm of that house is its slender nature.
Mm-hmm. I was not as concerned about the bump out, honestly. If it was part of a whole facade that was more subservient to the aesthetic of the main house. I think we're getting to the same place, just different ways in our mental design effort. But those were my primary concerns. Changing the proportions of windows was a concern, but from the notes back, that was a drafting error apparently. I think our right action here would be to defer the case, ask them to come back with revised drawings, maybe spend some time with DRAC if that's possible. Because I believe it's doable, and I really applaud them for bringing the house back and making it a single family again, because it's a sweet little house.
Okay. Is there any other comment from the commission on the case? Okay. All right. So with that said, we have a motion to defer.
I move to defer the application.
Okay. Is there a second? Ian? Okay. And then all those in favor?
Aye.
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 And that is unanimous. So I guess moving forward, let me know if I'm talking too much. So today, we appreciate you all coming forth with your application, just as far as the concept of everything in full support. Excited to see what you all are going to bring to the Raleigh community through this project. I also appreciate this list and your responses to that. From what I'm seeing as far as, there's a number of items on here that do reference a drawing error. And those are things that we need to see corrected so that we can make informed judgment. That said, some of the comments that you all have about your willingness to make modifications based on the feedback that you've gotten from DRAC and other entities, it sounds positive and sounds like it's moving in the right direction. So we would encourage you to kind of continue to sketch through those items. I guess I could go see DRAC again, right, with the revised design.
I don't think there's anything stopping them from going back to DRAC, right, guys? Timing. Speed, yeah.
Okay. So, but I think potentially, with just kind of addressing some of the things in the direction that you're moving with this, there wouldn't be a reason for you all to kind of not come before us again next month if we can see an updated application.
And to add in there, I'd suggest a walk around Oakwood, Boylan Heights, which have been around a lot longer. And there have been a lot more, as a historic district, and there have been a lot more additions on the back that expanded the size of the house. It would give you some ideas on ways to sort of drop the apparent scale without actually necessarily changing the actual scale.
Could you expand at all on your comments about the roof pitch a little bit more?
Well,
Understand what would change?
Sure. I mean, specifically, the guidelines and the basis behind the guidelines favor retention of historic material, and the character of the front of the house, in my opinion, the pitch of that front roof and the way it engages the dormer and the size of that dormer in the front are all character defining for that house. And your drawings increased the pitch of the roof so it engaged the dormer itself and expanded the size of the dormer and the proportions of the dormer. So there were like a whole bunch of changes that really changed the feeling of the front of that house. And I think if you try and go for more of a restoration on the front of the house and play some more games on the addition and things, you'll have a better time of it, getting to the other side of it.
I know we had some concerns about the way the current front porch is attached to the right in the dormer.
Front porch has been added to. The roof has been covered with 2x4s, and it's a false roof.
Oh, and it really looked like there was actually some rot or damage underlying it just to the left of the front door. Yeah, and what you might do as to support any kind of change is to get do some exploratory work, try and see what's under there, if you can. Also bring back some photos specifically addressing if you're targeting one change or another, that are evidence of things either having existed in the house originally or of houses that are contributing in part of the historic district. Okay.
Appreciate it. If I may, just a word to the wise. The conversation that I just heard is not evidence that's in the record.
No.
I mean, to the extent that anything you had to say in response that you'd like to say that again on the record, just be on notice that you probably need to go with that again, because none of that, this is just an informal attempt to be instructive and helpful till the next time.
And actually, typically doesn't happen because you're last up, you're getting an opportunity here.
So with that, the application has been deferred. We thank you all for your time and, again, the amount of effort that you're taking to kind of work with us to make something that we're both happy with, and, of course, ultimately you are. But we look forward to seeing you next month and reviewing your revised proposal at that time.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Okay.
In Verche, I'll just note we have one additional application listed on today's agenda originally for 1011 Oberlin Road. However, we received the envelopes for those public notice letters back, returned to sender. They were not stamped, apparently, and therefore were not successfully delivered to provide adequate public notice prior to this hearing. So we've been in contact with the applicants. We're expecting new envelopes tomorrow, and we anticipate they'll be at the May meeting with us.
Great, thank you. So with that, I'm done.
Do we need to move to defer that application?
Yeah.
No, because it can't be heard at all.
Okay. Okay, great. So with that, that's all of the evidentiary hearings that we have for tonight. Now, is there any other business as far as committee discussion goes? No? Okay, great. Do I need a motion to adjourn, or do I just bang the gavel?
Without objection.
Okay, without objection. If there's no objection, I'll adjourn this month's meeting of the Certificate of Appropriateness Committee. Thank you.